Time for Movies and Money with film critic Erik Childress. Hello to you, Erik.
Hi, Angie.
Uncharted came out with a surprise over the President's Day holiday weekend. How does Uncharted compare with other video games making the leap to the big screen?
Pretty solid, Angie. Given how attendance has been down overall, seeing Uncharted boast the fourth best opening for a video game adaptation was sure nice for Sony. Now, especially as a follow-up to their last film with Tom Holland, which is the biggest film they have ever released. Now, Uncharted grossed $44 million over the weekend. Now, no movie based on a video game has ever reached $450 million worldwide. But as of this week, Uncharted is a third of the way there, and the studio is hoping that its release in China in mid-March will boost its total further.
Do you have more news from the weekend box office for us?
I sure do, Angie, and there may be a lot to derive from just one weekend, but what we saw from particularly one movie could be a positive sign in the right direction for theaters, and that is the film that finished in second place. Now, I somewhat dismissed the chances for Channing Tatum's Dog to draw an audience last week, yet they showed up and gave $18 million to the film over the holiday. Now, this is significant because it is only the fifth wholly original film since the pandemic began to open to over $12 million, besides Free Guy, Encanto, Old, and House of Gucci. It's also a great marker for UA Releasing, who, with Gucci, now has two of the original films on that list. Now we'll see if word of mouth can sustain it this weekend, or if moviegoers were fooled by the advertising that suggested this was more of a cute dog tale than a story about PTSD. Now that $50 million marker is still something we need more original films to hit before studios begin pulling more of them back to just let the blockbusters breathe. And they may bring a lot of money in, but it will result in fewer chances for theaters to make it.
You have one final film to talk about, and you say it's last year's best film that is finally getting a release.
That's right, Angie. Nothing this weekend is going to challenge Uncharted for the top spot again, but Joe Wright's Cyrano is finally hitting theaters after numerous delays by its studio, UA Releasing, and it was on my top 10 list for 2021. It's a new adaptation of the classic play which loses the big nose scenario and instead casts Peter Dinklage as the unrequited romantic. Now, what you may not have gleaned from the commercials for this film is that it is actually a musical with much of the poetry turned into wonderful songs by Aaron and Bryce Dessner of the group The National, who wrote them for the stage version. And I have to say that I just loved this movie. It has two of my favorite song sequences of last year, which is saying a lot given that West Side Story was also on my top 10 list. Now, the only thing that is disappointing is the way this movie's release was handled. I honestly think it may have cost Dinklage an Oscar nomination, as the film ended up with just a single nod for costume design. Both Haley Bennett and Kelvin Harrison Jr. are terrific in this as well. Cyrano de Bergerac is one of my favorite stories and has been given great adaptations over the years, from Jose Ferrer in 1950 to Steve Martin with Roxanne in 1987. This version of Cyrano definitely belongs in that class, and I hope audiences will seek it out, as I have multiple times already.
Thank you so much, Erik.
Thank you, Angie.
Go to businessfirstam.com for where to see our show on TV.